Hello Internet, and welcome to Ramblings of a Madman. I'm Alex, and I'm joined by Sean and Stuart for a shallow and probably uninformed dive into unexplained mysteries, conspiracy theories, and the supernatural. Guys, I'm excited.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
Ooh,
Oh no. That's not a good thing. Or maybe it is, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I've had a lot of fun with this episode. It's
Awesome.
been crazy. We're going down the rabbit hole. We took the red pill.
Thank God I didn't take the blue pill.
It's too late now. We've taken the red pill already. I slipped it into your drink. I'm not going to say that. That's really bad.
I was about to make a blue pill joke about being Viagra. Instead, you made a date rape joke.
Welcome to the podcast, guys. I've spiked you in preparation.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a bit of a story behind this topic, well, how I found this topic. So I recently watched an anime called Steins, which is a great show. I recommend it if anyone wants something to watch. But it's a little weird. Like, there's certain plot points that were a bit strange to me. But I was listening to a recent episode of the Chillumin. Oh, my words! My words won't come out of my mouth.
You're staying this in. This is coffee. You have to leave this in.
Yeah.
I was listening to a recent episode of the Chilluminati podcast, which is a similar show to what we do, and I found out that the Steins anime was originally based on a real-life mystery. We're a little too young to have heard about this. It was about like early 2000s, and it was a popular mystery on the internet. So this is the story of John Titor. So have you heard of this?
No.
I don't think so.
So I've heard of Steins Gate because I also like my anime, but you told me not to watch it, and now I've been told not to watch it. I really want to watch it. So we need to get this episode done quick.
Yep. It's already on Netflix, paused.
Basically,
It's
yeah.
prepared, ready.
No, so that's all I know.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just go straight into it then. Our story starts in 1998 on a radio show called Coast to Coast AM. Do you know about that?
Nope.
I don't think so. No, where's it from?
It's a really popular late night paranormal sort of theory talk show in America.
Okay.
A fax came through during one of their open segments, and this read, "Dear Art, I had to fax when I heard other time travelers calling in from any time past the year 2500. Please let me explain. Time travel was invented in 2033. Offshoots of certain successful fusion reactor research allowed scientists at CERN to produce the world's first contained singularity engine. The basic design involves rotating singularities inside a magnetic field. By altering the speed and direction of rotation, you can travel both forward and backward in time. Time itself can be understood in terms of connected lines. When you go back in time, you travel on your original timeline. When you turn the singularity engine off, a new timeline is created due to the fact that you and your time machine are now there. Some interesting outcomes of this are: 1. You meet yourself. I've done it often, even taken a younger version of myself along for a few rides before returning myself to the new timeline and going back to mine. 2. You can alter history in the new universe that you've just created. Most of the time the changes are subtle. Sometimes I'll notice car models that don't exist, or books that come out late. Unfortunately, it was also discovered that anyone going forward in time from my 2036 hit a brick wall in the year 2564. Please pray that we discover the reason why there is no apparent future after 2564. Okay, that was the facts that was set into the show, right?
Okay.
So that's a bit weird. It's like a time traveler saying that the world doesn't exist after 2564. These other time travelers don't know what they're talking about. I'm the real deal. And then right after that, which was read on the show, another fax came through. And it said, "Dear Mr. Bell, I'm glad you're back. I faxed this information to you the day before you left the air. I wanted to make sure it wasn't lost in the shuffle, so I'm sending a gift. As I said then, I am a time traveler. I've been on this world line since April of this year, and I plan to leave soon. Typically, time travelers do not purposely affect the world lines they visit. However, this mission is unusually long, and I've grown attached to some of the people I've met here." Right, so they're the first two messages we've got in 98, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we don't really hear much about this for another 2 years until a user by the name Time Traveler Zero left a similar message in the Time Travel Institute forums. So I guess Time Travel Institute was like a website where people would discuss like how legitimate time travel was. They were like time travel fans.
Mm-hmm.
So the post that I wrote was, "Greetings, I'm a time traveler from the year 2036. I'm on my way home after getting an IBM 5100 computer system from the year 1975. My time machine is a stationary mass temporal displacement unit manufactured by General Electric. The unit is powered by two top-spin dual-positive singularities that produce a standard offset tipless sinusoid. I'll be happy to post pictures of the unit. So we got a similar message. It kind of checks out the details with the other two. And he started talking to these people on this forum. And he did send us pictures, which I will send to you now, so you can verify their legitimacy.
Well, we are well versed in time travel, so we'll be able to tell if it's legitimate or not.
So the first two faxes were sent to this show.
They were sent to this Coast to Coast AM, popular show.
Sent to a radio show, sorry, yeah. And then this one was posted on the internet now.
On this internet forum 2 years later.
So just what sort of discussions did they have on the...
We'll get into it, but basically he was asked every question under the sun. Anything you can think about.
No, I mean, like, how did the podcast or the radio station respond?
They had like an open segment where people would phone in claiming to be time travelers. So I guess they didn't really think much of it.
Yeah.
Because they were getting messages all the time saying, "Oh, I predict that this is going to happen in 5 years because I'm a time traveler."
Mm-hmm.
So take a look at those photos. What do you reckon?
I can't work out what some of them are particularly well.
So the first couple are photocopies of the time travel unit itself and how it works.
Okay.
They're a bit over my head in terms of technology. Yeah. And then after that, there's actual photos of the time travel unit. And these are from early 2000s, so they're not great quality and they're quite small.
So interestingly, looking at one of the photos here that says Major Systems Description Army Model. So is that a military one?
Mm-hmm.
And it says, does it say 2006 in that?
Well, the model is from 2034. That's what it says on the photocopies.
Mm-hmm.
He claims to be from 2036. So this time machine is 2 years old at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. He's got, a bit further on, he's got an actual, a picture of the time travel device in his car, it looks like.
Yep. It's a bit cliche.
Because it looks like something out of Back to the Future.
Yeah. Apparently it was installed in the back of a 1967 Chevrolet Corvette.
Nice.
But he later moved it to a 4x4, I believe, a couple months afterwards.
It's quite a big unit, actually.
Yeah,
I feel like it changes.
It used to be put on R/absolute unit.
Absolute unit. The size on this lad, Jesus.
What a chunk.
The very end photo is his insignia as well. It looks like a Toyota logo.
It does a little bit.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
So in January 2001, an exact duplicate of the message that I just read out was posted to the Art Bell forums. So Art Bell was the host of Coast to Coast AM at the time. But this time, the messages were under the name John Titor, and for the next few months he would regularly post on this site. I wasn't able to find the original threads from Coast to Coast AM, but I do have the links to the threads from the Time Travel Institute, where he first posted. Yeah, so he's on this forum. He answers a lot of questions in these threads, and he usually goes into a lot of detail about it.
Yeah, to be fair, there is a lot of detail, isn't there? No matter which one you read.
And the important thing is that the facts are consistent throughout.
There's a lot of talk about divergence as well here, isn't there? About so that's is that the singularity thing that you were just saying the quote from the...
No, divergence is how different a parallel universe is from another one.
Oh, right, okay.
Right, okay, so the lower end, there's someone called Pamela basically saying, I'll put your pictures up. Are those the ones that we've just seen?
Yes.
Right, okay, because the link didn't work, so...
Yeah, I had to find them somewhere else because none of the links work, because this is from 2001.
Right.
Is this all archived then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I got these from Wikipedia. There's links at the bottom of Wikipedia to these archives, which is quite handy. Okay, so let's talk a bit about time travel and how we think it works. So he uses a lot of technobabble in his posts, but from what I can understand, he's describing the many-worlds interpretation of time travel. This states that everything can happen, will happen in a parallel universe. So if you imagine we're traveling in time in a straight line, this is called a world line, the straight line that you travel on as you go through the years.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we decide to do or not do something, time splits off into several branches, and this creates a parallel universe. This implies that you can't change the past, and we create a new world line with a different future. Titor himself said that he had created a different world line when he travelled back in time. He said that he noticed little differences, such as news events happening at different times and football games won by different teams. He estimated that the temporal divergence, which is the difference between this world line and his original, was about 1 to 2%. So he's basically saying that the very fact that he's gone back in time on this world line has changed the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
The moment his time travel landed in our world line, it split into 2 parallel universes.
Yeah, one where he was and one where he wasn't.
Yeah.
But surely his original world line before he travelled in time continues.
Mm-hmm, it does. We'll get to it, but he's not trying to change the future because he can't. He can't change the future.
Okay, so going forward with this, I'm only getting involved to humour it. Like, this is quite far-fetched so far.
What do you mean? I got photos.
Right, so far, I'm going along with it.
Okay, so he said that time travel could be controlled, but it had operational limits. So if you imagine travelling through time is through a cone, then the further you travel backwards, the higher the chance of moving away from the centre. This will result in seeing more changes in the world line. The example he gives is that he could go back 2,000 years to meet Christ. However, going this far back means it's more likely he would end up on the world line where Christ was never born. When he was asked about the world lines he had taken, Titor replied, my initial flight was from 2036 to 1975, which was 61 years. I then went from 1975 to 2000, which was 25 years. Later this year, one of 2 favourable windows will open and I will return to my 2036. I'm here now for personal reasons. So he constantly talks about how he's sort of hanging out in 2000, 2001, and he's saying that he's hanging out with his family and he's a child at this point and he's hanging out with like the kid version of himself, which is kind of weird.
So it's very much implying that it's different to Back to the Future, where you can't meet yourself.
Yes, this is a completely different version of time travel than Back to the Future.
I mean, I'm tempted to believe Back to the Future more than I believe this.
What do you mean?
I mean, obviously DeLoreans are actually for time travel.
Yeah.
I think Chevrolet Corvettes are cooler than DeLoreans.
No.
That is a bold statement.
That's a bold statement. I mean, admittedly, DeLoreans, DMC DeLoreans could only actually go 88 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, now, Sean. Don't ruin this.
Bear in mind that Back to the Future is my favourite movie franchise of all time. So.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
It's my favourite. Even the third one.
Okay.
Even the third one.
He did mention in his original facts that he has met himself in the past, and he said that he took a younger version of himself along for a few rides before returning himself to the new timeline and going back to his original timeline.
But surely the experience of you meeting yourself and diverting your own self's path in history, shouldn't that alter the guy's current existence? Surely he would.
No, but they're different people.
No. Listen. Because when he's gone back in time and he started that new world line and he's met himself in that world line, he would know that he would have gone back in time to meet himself.
Yeah, so I was just about to say that. So does his younger self suddenly remember meeting his older self?
No, because they're separate people. So
they're considered 2 separate entities?
Yes, I believe that's how it works.
Okay.
But he's still the same person. So that's the way I'm imagining it. So as soon as he goes back in time, like you said, it creates that new split, that new alternate reality. And in that alternate reality, he meets himself. And even the bit in the future where he's from, which is a continuation from that new alternate reality. Yeah.
No, the bit in the future is a continuation from the original reality. It's
but now it wouldn't be, because when he goes back forward in time, in theory, that would be a continuation from the current alternate reality.
He can go to the original timeline using his machine, he explains.
Oh.
He doesn't have to stay on the world line he is currently.
Okay, that's weird.
Right. Okay.
So it's an experiment then?
No. We'll get to his reasons in a bit.
Right.
So we'll talk a bit more about his time machine. So he said that his time machine, which is a C204 unit, travels at about 10 years an hour, which I found quite funny. Like you measure
I love
in
that.
years an
It's
hour.
time per time.
That's a good rate. That
Yeah, but time divided by time is nothing.
stick a turbo on it, you get up to at least 14. It's got racing stripes on the tape, so you know what I mean.
That makes no sense. Yeah, what's the spoiler like? That makes no sense. If you divide a unit of time by a unit of time, they cancel each other out, and you just get nothing. It's essentially him traveling at 100.
I get it
with no
because
units.
it's like relativity, isn't it? So to him, it'll be an hour, but he's actually gone back 10 hours.
No, 10 years.
Oh, 10 years. 10 years, sorry. So it'll be like relativity. So to him, he's travelled.
So he's traveling forward in time whilst traveling backwards in time.
Wait, what?
Yeah, because for him, time is going forward as he's traveling backwards because it's taking him. It's consuming time to go backwards in time.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
Wait, so the longer he goes back, the further of his own life he loses in the future.
No.
Yeah, because if he goes back, say 100 years, and then tries to travel back to his alternate reality, he's lost 10 hours of his life.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, we're not physicists.
I'll have you know.
Making complete assumptions.
I think it's obvious. We're on a mystery conspiracy theory show. We're definitely
not educated professionally in any aspect.
Yeah.
An interesting discussion came up about his time machine in the forum, and it was about how he breathes in it, because obviously, well, not obviously, but it creates like a change in gravity, like a gravity bubble around the machine as it's traveling. So there's a limited amount of oxygen within the bubble. So if you take long journeys, such as this journey from 2036 to 1975, you have to bring additional oxygen supplies.
Oh, okay.
So he said he had like little oxygen canisters and stuff.
That's mad. It's
cool, isn't it?
It is mad. That is cool. However, it's also slightly doesn't make sense. The thing that we're not going to be able to answer this. I'm purely putting this question out there. But as something goes through time, how can it have gravity? Because if you think about like you taking oxygen in a cylinder needs pressure to be able to keep it pressurized, to keep it as aerosolized gas. Oxygen, sorry, for you to be able to inhale it. That's why obviously they work underwater, because they're kept in pressurized canisters. The machine must have to occupy gravity to stop him from drifting outside of his own bubble. Otherwise, he'd just float away from the machine unless he's anchored down.
He's in a car. The machine is in a car, and the gravity bubble surrounds the whole car. Like
perfectly? Or could a stray fly that flies into it get sucked in with him?
I'm guessing it'd just be spherical, right?
Oh, someone asked about a fly, and he said that it would get like basically mangled and destroyed.
Wait, how does a fly get mangled and destroyed, but he doesn't? This makes no sense.
Because if it's outside the car, as he like turns it on, it would like get mangled and destroyed.
Are you sure it doesn't merge with it?
No, it doesn't. The fly won't fly with the car.
Oh, that's such a shame.
So you said
oh my god, you can get a flying car.
You said about how does gravity affect time travel, right?
Yeah.
So the only comment I've got on that is Interstellar. Yes. The whole idea of gravity and relativity. So the planet that has like a hell of a lot of gravity or something, that's where the time goes much, much faster. And then that relativity idea, you know, they're on there for like 10 minutes or whatever. And then they go back to the spaceship and it's advanced like 50 years.
Yeah.
So again, that's not necessarily actual physics because we don't know. But
I don't know if you answered.
Cool. I love it.
I have absolutely no idea if you answered my question or not. But let's move on. I've got no idea.
The planets that had more gravity, time went faster on them.
Right, so time must go really slow if you've got something that occupies very little gravity, like a bubble of car.
Yeah, it goes very slow for him. That's why he doesn't age very much in it. And he goes back in time. Let's move on. I feel
this is the whole episode in itself.
I
feel woefully inequipped.
Yeah.
I was prepared for this, but I'm not.
Too many questions.
My brain hurts already.
What I'll say is, if you've got a question Go to one of those forums and Control F the word.
Control F and find it, yeah.
See if he's answered it. He probably has. So another interesting thing about the time machine is that he says the changing gravity surrounds a small portion of the Earth below the machine and takes it along for the ride. This results in a hole in the ground from the point of origin and a pile of dirt at the destination. I found that quite funny.
Wait, hang on.
Does it travel like the DeLorean? Or is it more like it just literally goes pop and then appears in another place?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think he needs to drive the car to time travel.
What's the best part?
Sits in the car, turns the machine on, and it pops. Take a chunk of the ground out. So I guess that's technically evidence that it happens.
Yeah, but I've got no investment anymore because it's not cool.
Oh my god!
I mean, can I just point out that we already know what the thumbnail for this episode is going to be? I just want a picture of a hole in the ground saying, "Look, we travelled in time."
It's a car that just time travelled.
Yeah,
stop ruining my cool topic.
Okay, carry on.
All right. Let's talk a bit more about Titor himself. So in his postings, he claimed to be an American soldier from 2036, based in Tampa, Florida. He was assigned to a governmental time travel project, tasked with receiving items from the past, which would help society get back on its feet. To this end, he had been sent back to 1975 to retrieve an IBM 5100 computer, which was one of the first portable computer systems ever made.
Mm-hmm.
That was needed to debug various computer legacy programs back in 2036. And that's sort of a legit thing because NASA has done that in the past. They've used older computers to debug newer systems, I believe, from my research.
Well, I was just going to say, there's that thing about the mission to the moon for Neil Armstrong and
the Apollo program.
The Apollo program, yeah. The overall functioning power of that rocket ship to use something like 8 megabyte of RAM or something stupid, like some ludicrously small amount of computer power. And like your phone has more processing power than the entire system that took the rocket to the moon. So you wonder whether or not things were so rudimentary that we've gone too far with coding and we need to undo it, basically.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I really can't say much about this. I'm not a computer programmer.
No.
Neither are we.
So Titor said that he'd been selected for this mission because his grandfather was directly involved with the assembly and programming of the IBM 5100. Some posters were confused by Titor needing to go all the way to 1975 to get the computer because they claimed that the 5100 was easily obtainable at auction, to which Titor replied, "The 5100 had a very simple and unique feature that IBM did not account for and decided it was not in their best interest to advertise, which in hindsight was not very smart. The accidental feature was thus removed from any future desktop computers. In order to take advantage of this feature, the 5100 I have now required a couple of special tweaks that had to be done by one of the software engineers in 1975. Anyone who is familiar with this feature and was told to keep their mouth shut about it will be able to tell you what it is." So this does check out, because according to a Post Bulletin article written by Patrick Stevenson, Bob Dubke, an engineer who helped design the 5100, confirmed that this feature existed. So there we go, we've got inside knowledge.
I mean,
so what feature was it?
Is the feature by any chance the any key? Because a lot of times my computer says, press the any key to continue. Yes! I got the Simpsons joke in there. Press the any key. Where the hell's the any key?
You just type ANY, there we go. I'll do it.
Anyway. No, but seriously, what?
He doesn't say what the feature is, but he says that it's a feature required in order to debug the computers, and it was only from this original model of the computer.
Right.
It's definitely any key.
It's been supported by people who worked on the original computer.
People who worked on it, did they see this post and confirmed what he was saying, or was it completely separate and they just talked about the 5100?
The article is a interview with this guy who was an engineer on the 5100 about the Titor post.
Oh, so it was in reference to the Titor post. Okay.
Yeah, the question was, does this check out based on your experience of the 5100? And he said yes. So, of course, being a time traveler meant that he had to warn us of upcoming threats. When he was asked what life was like in the future, he responded, "I live in Central Florida with my family, and I'm currently stationed at an army base in Tampa. A world war in 2015 nearly killed 3 billion people. The people that survived grew closer together. Life is centered around the family and then the community. I cannot imagine living even a few hundred miles away from my parents. There is no large industrial complex creating masses of useless food and recreational items. Food and livestock is grown and sold locally. People spend much more time reading and talking together face to face. Religion is taken seriously, and everyone can multiply and divide in their heads." So that's what the future is going to be, the lovely, bleak future that awaits us. Of course, he's then asked to elaborate on the war that he casually mentioned. He said there's a civil war in the United States that started in 2004. The conflict flares up and down for 10 years. In 2015, Russia launches a nuclear strike against the major cities in the United States, which is the other side of the civil war from his perspective, China and Europe. United States counterattacks. The US cities are destroyed along with the American federal empire. Thus we, the people in the country, won. The European Union and China were also destroyed. Russia is now the largest trading partner, and the capital of the US was moved to Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay,
so lovely bleak future again.
So this is going off the alternate, like a different timeline, right?
This was his timeline originally. So obviously this hasn't happened to us. Because...
Yeah, because you said 2015, is that right?
We might have noticed the nuclear war.
Yeah.
I need to get out more.
Yeah, I need to open the curtains every now and again.
Peer through the slit in the curtains of the outside world. He also warned about an upcoming outbreak of Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. Do you know? So am I pronouncing that right?
No. Creutzfeldt-Jakob.
I definitely see the doctors about that.
Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease.
Yeah. Mad cow disease.
Yeah, which would be spread through beef products. This is a degenerative brain disorder similar to mad cow disease. So all three of us should be familiar with such an outbreak because mad cow disease was a big problem for us in the UK during the 90s. And that's a little too real with this coronavirus outbreak at the moment.
Yeah, that's very true. I was wondering if you were going to mention something like that, whether or not the whole war thing could be, the divergent for us could be, okay, a war didn't happen, but another event has happened. And it's that classic, okay, yeah, in one timeline this has happened, in another timeline something else has happened. It's like you wonder if
the same thing, maybe.
Yeah, I wonder if the same overall event happens, but at a different point in time and in a different way. But overall, the world is still population controlling us.
Yeah. I mean, a war was going on in 2004. That was the Iraq War.
Yeah.
Part of the Iraq War.
But I don't think we were ever at risk of 3 billion people dying from that war, though.
No, but that was in 2015. That was a different war.
Oh, wait, sorry. Which one did you say?
So it started in 2004, which was a civil war in the United States.
Sorry.
And then it eventually built up to nuclear strikes in 2015.
Sure.
Kind of like a World War III scenario.
Yeah.
But given the timing of Titor's appearance, the speculation is that he did something in 1975 which stopped Y2K. So do you guys know Y2K?
Yeah, I'm quite vague with it, actually. It's the big blackout thing that was meant to happen. All the computer systems went shut down because of the calendar system or something.
Yeah, basically, computers were coded to be, the dates on them were like two numbers, so it would be like 98, 99.
Yeah.
And then when it went to 2000, it would technically go back to 1900. And loads of people were worried that it would sort of like ruin all the computer systems in the world. So like all the banks would lose everyone's money and planes would fall out of the air and stuff like that. So the speculation is that he averted that disaster by doing something in 1975.
I bet he carried the one. Yes, I'm glad I got a laugh.
Laughing at you, not with you.
So have these things happened? As we discussed, no. But the beauty about the many worlds interpretation is that you can't disprove these predictions, because you can say the reason these events haven't happened is that we're on an alternate timeline created by Titor's actions. Those things still happened in Titor's timeline, but he managed to stop them from happening in ours.
But surely, if time is diverting from the point of every decision that gets made...
Every important decision which could affect the timeline.
So what defines an important decision?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that I struggle with.
The butterfly effect, where you do something tiny in one side of the world and it'll affect something massive elsewhere.
I can't say what what would define an important decision. But I mean, going back in time would be an important event.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. So if he's gone back in time and
Yeah, because no matter what, if he goes back in time, even if he does nothing, immediately comes back away, he's left a mark.
Yes, a literal mark on the floor.
A literal mark on the floor. People would have questioned that. The fact that he's commented on this this forum and we can see it, even if it was just one post, potentially that's a mark that's been made. And it obviously he's done a couple to get people's attention, and it's spiraled and developed, and people put two
He's
and
done
two
a
together.
lot. These forums go on for months, where he's answering questions.
Would he really give that much information?
So people asked him about that, and I'm trying to remember what his answer was.
you said he was military as well, didn't you? So you think some of that information you think would be sensitive?
Yeah, people asked him what his superiors would think about him responding to all these people. And I think he said something like, because it's a different world line, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Right.
Like it won't affect his original world line. So
Yeah, because he can go back to his original one.
Yeah. And that's generally his whole view on the whole thing, is that he can do whatever he wants here because it doesn't matter, because he's going back to his original world line anyway.
And there's no way that his original world line would know about it because he created a new one when he went back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I suppose therefore the purpose of traveling to new world lines would be to avoid catastrophic events, or to try and prevent catastrophic events from happening to each individual timeline.
Yeah, essentially.
So it's like a benevolence kind of thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. But I did say that the reason he went back in time was just to help in the future with debugging these things, because he needed the computer. So he's not trying to avert the war, because he literally can't do that for his world line.
For the original one, yeah.
Yeah, he's just trying to make life better after the war for the people in his world line.
Yeah, got you, because he's gone back and, like you hinted, the fact that he got personal affection to some people.
Yeah, he mentioned that he met a lot of people during this time, because he was here for a couple of years, I think, because he said he had to wait for a favourable window to travel back.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say that. Why? What would be the purpose of spending months and months writing on forums if it doesn't make a difference? But yeah, I suppose if you're waiting anyway.
Mm-hmm. So Titor floated around the internet sporadically answering questions until he posted his last message on 24th of March 2001, which I will read now. I will be leaving this world line shortly, and this will be my final post. There are only a handful of people who will know exactly when I will be leaving, and I'm sure they will let you know when I'm gone. In the last few days, I have found your choice of topics quite interesting, and from an objective viewpoint, I think it collectively answers one of your own questions. If time travel is real, where are all the time travelers? In the past, I've stated that quite frankly, you all scare the hell out of me, and I'm sure other temporal drivers around would feel the same. But now I have an expanded explanation with 2 examples. A while ago, on one of my posts, I related an experience I had with my parents while we were driving down the highway. Every now and then we would pass someone who was in obvious distress with their vehicle. I was amazed that so many people could pass them by without stopping to help. Their explanation was fear. The risk of helping someone was too great, and with today's technology, they probably had a cell phone anyway. If they didn't, the walk to a gas station would be good for them and teach them a lesson for running out of gas. The other example is the plight of the homeless. When you pass them as individuals on the streets, I see the way people selectively choose an alternate path to avoid them. These 2 examples best define why time travelers do not show themselves. In trying to help you, we put ourselves at great risk, and there's really no point to it. We know the nature of time dictates that travelling between exact world lines is impossible, therefore the only results we will see will be the ones we stay to see. Since world lines, outcomes and events are infinite, we have better things to do. When I arrive in the new 1998 world line on my way home, I could easily start all of this again and continue to go through the same conversations with all the same people. However, I already know you won't pay any attention or believe me, because we've already been through it on this world line. Besides, I think the walk to the gas station will do you some good.
Huh. I like that.
My parting thought revolves around something JC has been harping on since day one. I'm not sure who JC is. Doesn't matter. Probably a random person in the forum. No, I do not have a secret agenda, but I have been paying a great deal of attention to your world line. My interaction with you was not a direct mission parameter, but it was a secondary mission protocol based on standing orders given to all temporal drivers. That secondary objective is basically to gather as much information about a world line based on a set of observable variables when we first arrive. Your world line met those conditions. What amazes me is why no one here wonders why Y2K didn't hit them at all. Bring a gas can with you when the car dies on the side of the road. Farewell. So he sounds jaded and sick of us in that man.
Yeah. Which you can understand.
He's sick of our shit and he's going to leave in his time machine.
I'm a head out.
Yeah, so that was the last we heard of him.
Yeah.
Can I just say as well, temporal drivers? That's cool.
Yes, Temple Drivers. That should
That's
be
a cool name for it.
That should be a TV show.
It sounds like a great band.
Or a band, yeah.
Temporal overdrivers. Yeah. No one laughed at that one.
It's too much.
No, I like the tongue-in-cheek a bit, sort of, maybe you could do with the walk. Maybe you as humanity, you could do with a bit of trial and error.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about a woman that you mentioned before. So Pamela Moore is a person who always comes up when looking at John Titor.
Yeah.
And she first comes up in the Time Travel Institute forums, where she immediately believes Titor and starts privately messaging him. So it's kind of weird. You can see throughout the forums that I've linked that she constantly keeps posting the private messages they've been sending each other. So she basically says, like, I had this conversation with him, and with his permission, I'm going to post these questions I asked him.
The sections, yeah.
And they're really big sections.
Yeah, it's huge. It's like a big manuscript, sort of.
Yeah, so all the other conversations Titor has with other users are public. And he keeps getting into arguments with a guy called Time Travel Activist who refuses to be convinced, which I found quite funny. Like, he calls him TTA, and he's constantly like, this definitely won't convince TTA, but this is what I'm going to say, and stuff like that. So you can see as time goes on and the thread gets longer, she almost becomes Titor's manager, and people are asking her questions to pass on to him. So she's like the go-between between the people of our world line and this time traveler. So after he left, she posted on April 4th, 2001, she said to the board, "Please don't send me any more messages for John. John is no longer on this world line. He has gone home. When I receive the video of John's departure, I will send a copy of it to Rick to put on his website. John requested to please not harass anyone who was unlucky enough to have the name John Titor, because it will not be him. He said he was flattered that his words were being dissected so carefully, but that he could see that you were applying your own standards and thoughts to what was said. He wanted me to remind you that people in different times do not think the same way you do, and a culture's maturity is determined by how far it can plan into the future. Please be patient on the video. John, goodbye, my friend. Sincerely, Pamela." So I tried to find this video, and it didn't have any luck. I did go on to Rick's website, quote-unquote website, which is very old and out of date. And the photos were on there originally, but I couldn't find a video. So that was a bit of a fail.
Is there any proof that there ever was that video, though? Is it all talk?
Besides her mentioning that he's sending a video, no.
So maybe it never happened, rather than you not being able to find it. Maybe it was just never there.
I feel like people would have been able to keep it quite easily accessible if it was posted.
I don't think a video was ever posted.
Fair enough.
So Pamela's been interviewed quite a lot over the years about this story. During an interview in January 2017, Pamela said, "Everyone thinks I started out asking John too many detailed questions when he came in 2000, but the truth was I had a detailed dream of a time traveler in 1998. Now, I wonder whether she watched Coast to Coast in 1998 and then dreamt about it and got confused.
Yeah, because the faxes were in 1998, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
And this seems like the kind of person who would listen to that show. So rather than like a premonition she had, I reckon that she's just...
Yeah, it's just a subconscious...
absorbed this information subconsciously.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing is that before Titor disappeared in March 2001, he shared with her a secret song that she could use to identify any imposters. The song still hasn't been revealed, and it's become an obsession with Titor historians, in quotation marks. So you can spend a lot of time reading about this song as well. I didn't go too much into it.
Was it from the album Everyday Chemistry?
It might be. I mean, on one world line, it definitely is.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It can happen, it will happen. So on one world line, the reason the Beatles never broke up is because John Titor jumped in front of the vomit. That was going to kill Ringo Starr that one time.
Imagine if
And,
this episode linked together every episode we've done so far by some random theories about time travel.
Did you just say the bullet that killed Ringo Starr?
Yeah, I did. Because obviously on that world line, someone was going to kill Ringo Starr, and he saved him.
Right, okay. I was going to be like, well, actually, it wasn't Ringo Starr. But
Yeah.
you saved yourself then. You saved yourself.
I can say literally anything, because anything can happen.
Yeah, fair point. Okay.
So in my notes now, I have written discussion. So do you guys want to ramble for a bit?
Oh, man.
That's a lot
This
to
is
unpack.
so crazy.
It's amazing. It's really fun to talk about, but I don't believe a word of it.
No.
I'm sorry, like, I want to, and it's really interesting. But some guy posting in a forum, posting photos that box could be anything. You know what I mean? It uses, like, it's got, like, the danger tape on it.
Yeah,
It looks, yeah, but it looks like something that someone would have made out of anything they found in a prop box. It looks like a 2000s interpretation of what a time machine would look like. It just doesn't. To be honest, I don't know. They had a war in their timeline, and maybe a lot of the stuff actually. Maybe time machines will literally just look like circuit boards and transistors and stuff like that. Because you look at one of, like, the cross sections, the blueprint sort of thing of it. It shows all the internals, and it looks like it could be the inside of most computers. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I was going to say it's plausible. Like, it's one of those, like, we've done a couple of these where it's like, I want them to be true. I think
you can tell at this point that time travel topics are my favourite.
Yeah.
And I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it is really fun and interesting. I'm trying to think, like, apart from just going, oh yeah, I like this, I like that, what else could we talk about? Like, I guess I'm asking for more proof. Is there anything else?
Was there anything to do with the guy's real identity that came out? Like, do you remember when we talked about in a couple of these episodes we've talked about trying to prove who people are by evidence that they existed, like letters, correspondence, email addresses, IP addresses. Was there anything to say that this guy was somebody in particular rather than it being actually true?
Oh, all in time, my sweet child.
Oh, we're not done.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant when we said discussion
Awesome.
we were done. I was like, oh. I was like, we kind of ended on an unexpected note there.
Right, okay.
So we only have to wait 14 more years for time travel to be invented.
That is true.
32, I thought you said. Oh, no, 34.
34.
Well, no, he said it was invented in 32 and then he travelled from 34.
No, it was invented in 34 and he travelled from 36.
Yeah, that's what I said. Okay.
Yeah, so I say in 14 more years we check back and do a John Titor Part 2.
Yep.
All in our DeLorean time machines.
Corvette time machines.
Or Corvette or Mustang, depending on whatever car you want. So let's talk about the actual truth behind John Titor.
I hate the way you say that.
Yeah, it's disappointing. So sadly, it's probably a hoax.
What? I never saw that coming.
No, I didn't either. After reading this forum post for days, I did not see it coming as a hoax. It destroyed my whole life. Well, I got depressing. So...
I actually feel kind of sad for you. I'm not gonna.
I know, it's sad.
I feel sad for you too, whilst laughing in your face.
The last month of my life has been a lie.
So after Titor stopped posting in April 2001, the story began to pick up steam, with people excited to see how his predictions would pan out. Titor fever reached a peak in 2003 when a book called John Titor, A Traveller's Tale was released by the John Titor Foundation Incorporated.
For God's sake.
What? Say that again.
A book called John Titor, A Traveller's Tale was released by the John Titor Foundation Incorporated in 2003.
John Titor Foundation. Okay.
Yep, and this was a year before the war was supposed to start, so yeah, they were cashing in on that.
Cashing in, yeah.
Prediction money.
They even got a fucking trademark or whatever.
They got a trademark. The story then started to fade away after there was no civil war in 2004. In 2008, an Italian TV program called Voyager attempted to prove that the Titor story was a hoax by hiring an American private detective.
Okay.
The PI found no registry evidence of any individual named John Titor. When looking into the John Titor Foundation, which was established in September 2003, so right before they brought the book out, it was a very rushed job, he found that the company had no address associated with it other than a rented postbox in Florida. He also found that an IP address connected with Titor also geolocated to the same place in Florida.
Was it in Tampa?
It wasn't. It was the place was different on two sources, so I just left the place name out, but the point is it was in Florida.
I was thinking, is it Tampa from where he said he was from?
No, but you see, he wasn't in Tampa, Florida when he was posting on the forums. He did say.
That's true.
He'd gone elsewhere to time travel backwards to pick up the IBM. So he was in the right spot. Okay, so in 2009, the website Hoax Hunter published the Rasmus Report, which is a list of 88 people associated with the original Titor posts. And I will link you this now.
Cool.
It's a very scary looking website. So it's basically just a massive report with all these names on it, saying whether these are real people or not, where they work, who they are, the history of John Titor. It's very detailed.
Wow.
As the website name basically says, they like investigate paranormal stuff and hoaxes and stuff and try and disprove them. So these are all names that were on the forum posts.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what they're trying to do is prove that these were fake users that were created by Titor.
What, so
right,
we could have...
so Pamela, for example, was fake?
Pamela is a real person. That's one person.
They have been... Oh, okay.
Some of these people are real, but the majority of them seem to be fake usernames made up by someone. And the theory is that it's so he could ask himself leading questions that I already knew the answer to.
Yeah.
Oh, what, to try and give himself some credibility?
Yes.
Right.
They work this out because, according to Google, most of these names all vanish at the same time that Titor stops posting on the forums.
Sorry, I can't remember if you've already said this. So after Titor stopped posting on the forums, did the forums close?
No, they're still there. They've got messages from this year on there of people like just finding this now, like me, and being like, "What the fuck is this?" and discussing it.
I hope you actually put those words on it.
Does the president know about this?
Oh, something I left out for time, but I want to talk about. A guy patented the blueprints for the time machine.
Oh, what an absolute hero.
Apparently the story is he had cancer and he had time to kill while he was getting chemo, and he wanted to make a time machine, so he patented these blueprints in the hope that in the future they could be made. But hang on, let me just try and find the exact thing about this guy.
That is pretty clever.
Wait until I tell you what I'm going to tell you next. Yeah, so it's a guy called Marlin Pullman, and he said he has a degree in physics and engineering and back-engineered this patent based on John Titor's post. He works for a large software company and he has no profit motive. I just want one and don't have the means to build it. Martin Pullman is currently spending 6 years in prison for drugging and raping 4 women.
Oh my god.
Oh wow, that's
a cocktail of LSD, ecstasy, and nitrous oxide into spring-loaded syringes and injected his victims in their necks before having his way with them. He pled guilty in 2013 and was sentenced to 75 months in prison.
Bloody hell. Wait, what was his name?
Marlin Pullman.
That took a dark turn.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy obviously isn't that smart, because what he should have done is built a time machine, and he got away with it.
He can't change the future, though. You can only make a new alternate timeline.
Yeah.
In which he's not in prison.
Well, he should have done that then, shouldn't he?
Wait, so are you suggesting that this is the guy? That this is John
No, I'm
Titor?
suggesting this is a crazy person who
Yeah, okay.
has verified he's crazy by being sentenced to 75 months in prison, which seems quite low for drugging and raping 4 people.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, let's talk a bit more about
Yeah,
the...
on brighter news. Let's change subject.
So the report highlights 7 suspects who are likely part of the Titor team. Amongst those are people directly associated with the Time Travel Institute, which is the original website that the forums were on, or they're associated with the John Titor Foundation. Based on this report, the PI for the Italian program concluded that a guy called Larry Haber, who is a Florida entertainment lawyer, and his brother Maury Haber, a computer scientist, were likely behind John Titor. So Larry Haber claims to be the lawyer for the John Titor Foundation, but I've read on other places that he's the CEO of the John Titor Foundation. So it's a bit sketchy that he doesn't want to reveal that he owns this company, which have made money from selling this book, albeit not very much money because you can't buy the book anymore, and it was a very short print of it.
So someone somewhere does have the book on.
I think you can buy it on Amazon, but it's like superly overpriced. But that money won't be going to the John Titor Foundation. That's from a third party seller.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's probably a hoax at this point.
So we think these 2 people, so presumably then, I mean, it's quite complicated science that they're supposedly putting forward. Computer scientist, okay, maybe, but it's a lot of physics, isn't it, that they're discussing, isn't it? And do you say he was an entertainment lawyer?
Harry's an entertainment lawyer. His brother's a computer scientist.
Because you'd think, obviously, I don't know what entertainment law directly involves, but I can't imagine much of it involves time travel.
Right. Computer scientist, would he potentially have been one of the ones working on the Atari 2100 or 5100?
Yeah, he worked on the NES, and then after that, the Nintendo 64. You said Atari 2100.
Damn it! Yeah, I knew I got it wrong. What was it?
The IBM 5100.
IBM. I was thinking like Amstrad, but then I was like, wait, no, Amstrad. You didn't say Amstrad. Yeah, the IBM 5100. Yeah.
He didn't work on the computer itself. I think he's too young to have worked on it. But the assumption is because he's a computer scientist, in that sort of circle of people, he might know inside info about computer stuff like that. And again, these aren't the only people who seem to be involved with it.
Oh, okay, yeah, I suppose.
From other people. There are 7 suspects here, and there might be more which aren't mentioned. But there's more. The conspiracy goes deeper. So in 2018, a multimedia artist called Joseph Maffany said that he worked as a consultant for the people behind Titor. John Titor is a story that was created as a literary experiment by people who were observing what I was doing with Ong's hat, which is another early internet mystery, which we might cover in the future, actually. But it's a thing that he was in charge of. It was like an ARG game, and it was like crazy with like this abandoned town, I think, in America somewhere. Anyway, so they saw what he was doing with Ong's hat, and these people wanted to do something like that. I was a consultant on the project, but it wasn't my project. So he claims that they worked on it for a bit, but he said that his group stopped the Titor experiment before the Art Bell posts. He claims to have never worked with Larry Haber and said that he just jumped on the bandwagon. So the assumption is that the forums I linked you from Time Travel Institute are this first group who made the whole thing up, and then afterwards, Larry Haber got a team together, and they continued the legacy on Art Bell, coming up with the name John Titor, and then they want to make some money out of it, I guess, by creating this internet folktale, urban legend sort of story.
Yeah. To me, it just could have easily... Yeah. Like the way he's answered some things, I know it was my thing, the Philadelphia experiment, but I'll be like the guy who watched the film that they made, the adaptation of the thing. And then he was like, well, yeah, I've got all this information that I've had repressed for ages. And he just comes out with all this spiel. That to me is similar to this, because it's just potentially, because I'm not saying that that was a hoax as well. I was trying to argue it. But it could very easily have just been someone with a really, really good imagination. You think some of the stories and literature and movies and narratives that we get these days, they're potentially incredible. And you think Interstellar, like that's, well, I don't know how based off physics it is, but they talk a lot about the science behind it in terms of whether it's actually based off anything or, you know what I mean? Like they've put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah.
And I feel like John Titor, as in Time Traveler Zero, could have easily just been someone just going, right, this is the best explanation I can think of. Or they've already thought of like how time travel could work and it makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely has that aura to it, doesn't it? You think,
Yeah.
oh yeah, someone's started with an idea and run with it, maybe slightly further than they thought they would go, and maybe reached a point where they thought, oh wait, we're in way too deep now, and that's why they kind of said, okay, I'm fed up if you got it now, which was their way of saying, I've run out of ideas, I can't spin this web any further.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I'm noticing while I'm doing this is every time I think of an argument why it's a hoax, I think of an argument why it isn't, or why it might not be, because like I'm like, well, why would he have told everyone about this? Like, surely, like he said, like time travelers would keep themselves, but then you already give his answer on that, like a reasonable answer, which could have been completely made up on the spot to fit what his narrative was going for, you know, like his story. But then also it's actually, they could be real, because the quick skimming throughs that I did of reading and what you told us, like the answers are convenient, but they fit.
Yeah, very true.
Mm-hmm.
Like in terms of the science, like you can't really comment, can you? One, because, well, I'm not educated in it. Well, to that level anyway. But then two, if it's way above our heads in terms of our timeline, like as in, if it's from the future, we wouldn't be able to understand it because we wouldn't have invented it yet.
Yeah, or maybe just not yet, like you said.
My head hurts.
Someone that's going to understand how it works, to be able to think in that process, hasn't been born yet, or hasn't understood the knowledge yet to be able to come up with that idea.
Mm-hmm. Alex, what do you think then? Because I know you're really excited about this, and I want to hear what you think.
So the main source I'm using for this is an article by Thrillist, and the way it works is that the article starts by saying this is a hoax. We've interviewed Joseph Matheny about it, and then as the article goes on, he comments on bits of the story. So he's basically saying that this group got together, they consulted him about it because he had experience with making cool internet stuff, and they basically just wanted to make a cool internet mystery folk tale, and they did it for a bit on this internet forum, and then they just let it free for the internet to do what they wanted with it. And it got crazy afterwards because this other group got involved, the Larry Haber group, and they spread it even more further than they could have imagined. But it seems that they wanted a monetary gain out of it. So a quote from the Rasmus report is that Team Titor had a goal. Their purpose was organised. The goal was to promote and virally advertise a book, a movie, a website, or all of these. Obviously, a book happened, but nothing else did. So it was probably a failed experiment. They didn't make much money out of it. But that was the end story of it, was that it's probably a hoax made by these two groups of people. The first group came up with the basic gist of it. They probably had like some computer programmers and stuff on their team who knew about the IBM 5100 and its like unique tech behind it and stuff like that, so they could put all these like cool little details into it to make it seem more believable. Mm-hmm. And they do some basic, well, not some basic, some quite in-depth time travel stuff, like about Tipler and his time travel theories and stuff, so they could weave that in quite nicely and come up with any answer that they needed to for the questions. Because presumably on the Time Travel Institute forums, where he was asked most of these questions, it was this first group answering them.
Yeah.
And according to the Rasmus report, a lot of those people were made up by the group themselves, so they already had the question prepared. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think the lore behind it's super cool, and how like, the story fits. Like as you go on, it doesn't change very much. Like answers stay the same. The way he describes the future stays the same generally, and it's just a cool way to see how these folk tales can sort of start up. Like, even without the internet, this would have been done by word of mouth originally. And it just kind of like expands from one person making some wild claims, and then it gets picked up and picked up and picked up. Eventually,
which it would, because if he's being consistent with his answers, like you said, was it TTA, time traveler, the guy who was like activist, yeah. So there would be someone against him, but that could have also been a fake account created by John Titor to kind of have someone there to ridicule, or not even ridicule. I don't know how he wrote actually against TTA, like what his language was and what his take on it was. But I can imagine it in my head, it'd be like, yeah, okay, well, TTA won't believe this, making everyone kind of join in with him and like band against TTA. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember exactly how it went, but it was similar to that. It was basically TTA was like, you'd say a statement and say like, if you're a time traveler, you'd have the answer to this, and it'd be like, what's the gold price in this year? Blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And then Titor would just be like, how would I know what the gold price is in that year? Like, I'm a pilot for this. And the thing he constantly says is that he can't properly explain how the time machine works because he's just a pilot for it. And he uses the example, an F-16 pilot can explain to you basically how an F-16 works, but they can't build one. No. They can't manufacture it because they're not aeronautical
engineers.
Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah. But again, that's also convenient, but you can argue it's realistic in terms of, well, yeah, he's right.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things you said there about that the nature of this is quite sensationalist in that it's very much blown out of proportion, but with it being folklore in its kind of pattern, one of the things that's interesting is that it doesn't really have the Chinese whispers route. Often you think of things that information that's regurgitated changes over time, but this doesn't, does it?
No, and you know why? It's because the forums are archived, so anyone can go back and read them, word for word.
Yeah, because I think that's your interpretation. There's much less room for interpretation, isn't there? Like we just said about the whole, was it tongue-in-cheek against TTA? Was it actually nasty towards him? Well, there's a little bit of interpretation, but there's no emotion in just words on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Unless there's lots of exclamation marks or an emoji. Were there emojis back then? Probably not.
It was either ASCII or like just colon bracket.
Yeah.
Back when the internet was good.
Oh, as a side note, I did Google how much the Time Traveler's Tale paperback book is. £907 on Amazon.
Nice.
£3.79 delivery though.
Oh, bargain.
It's a good rate, that.
Buy it today.
For under 1,000.
This episode sponsored by A Time Traveler's Tale.
No, by the John Titor Foundation. Incorporated, that's the one.
They're still going strong. Oh yeah, so that's all I've got on the story. There's plenty more if you want to go into it. There's a John Titor II currently on YouTube. A guy who believes he is John Titor, and he makes YouTube videos. Mostly loudly shouting at people who say he's not John Titor.
I just have for some reason, I just have that. I want my family back.
I want my family back.
I don't know why that popped into my head. Oh
yeah, but I didn't look too much into it because he seems quite unhinged.
But so did John. Everyone thought John Titor in 2000 on the forums was unhinged.
No, he didn't. He was calmly explaining how his time machine picks up piles of dirt and takes it to the future with him.
Yeah.
He put pictures and diagrams and everything. I don't know how you can dispute this.
Okay.
There's facts on the internet from 20 years ago. There's also facts that it was a hoax, and it makes me sad. But
yeah.
We'll ignore those facts.
I want to believe.
I wish there was more to it, because like I'm like, oh yeah, is there proof? Is there proof? But then like, well, he said pictures, and he's talked about it, and that's like, yeah, it is. It's not proof.
You can't falsify it though, because anything he says, he can just say, oh, that hasn't happened because I changed the past.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't change the past. I created an alternate timeline in which the future's now different.
Which is really cool.
It is cool. That's
It
why
is
time
the-
travel is awesome.
It is the ultimate get out of jail free card, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
The whole thing is just bizarre.
So, yeah, you stick on my time travel episodes yet?
No. Keep it going.
Find more.
Find more with proof.
Look, I found an interview with an airport guy who
Okay,
said,
yeah.
I'm a time traveler. I have a whole CD on YouTube,
whole
which you can listen to.
album.
A whole album on YouTube, which you can listen to. And now I've got a whole list of forum posts with photographic evidence. I mean, what more evidence do you need?
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
It's only 14 more years until we find out.
Alex will finally be satisfied in 14 years. Or I suppose extremely disappointed.
Yeah, see, it won't happen. It will be because Titor went back in time. And
Yeah,
the time
yeah,
we're on now, it will never get invented because he did something to the Hadron Collider.
Mm.
Ooh, here's
Ooh.
some of my final thoughts.
Okay.
Long story short, I really, really like it. I think it's really interesting. And I do really want to watch Steins Gate now because if it's based on this sort of thing, time travel, different alternate futures and stuff, I'm into that. I'll watch it. But we've discussed everything that we've talked about. But I also want to add that we skimmed over it with him saying about humanity and, making reference to like homeless people and stuff like that. Maybe the initial hidden agenda was to kind of push for that. Is what I'm thinking as like a final thought. Is it like, yes, okay, he's tried to push for this time travel thing, but is he trying to make a point saying, like in this alternate future, we've been forced through hardship to work together as humanity. So why aren't you guys doing it?
Yeah, maybe. That last message, though, was from the second group who didn't start it, I believe, because it was from the Art Bell forums. But I think the original intent was just to make a cool folktale internet mystery. And there was no sort of moral behind it. It was just, look, we can make a cool folktale and just see how it spreads through the internet. Because at this time, the internet was an early thing, right?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I feel like it's one of these things it's new, let's try it.
Yeah.
Like
Because I didn't have the internet back then.
Yeah, exactly. We did it because we could. And now we know that we can do it. Things can progress from there. So you think of all the forums now, mainly Reddit, it's all based off early forums like this, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And it still happens now. Like there's tons of internet mysteries that we can do in this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And they all kind of go the same way. Is that like someone posts something somewhere and it gets picked up by someone else, and then it kind of just goes crazy as more people try and guess.
Snowballs.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing with the internet, is that you can pretty much track down everything people say on it and falsify it, unless it's predictions about time travel, which you can't. But
well, this is the thing, right? So one thing I wanted to clarify, that hoax hunter thing, did they actually try and track down the people from the forum and like try to analyze and get like login details? Were they able to do that?
not that I believe. I think it's more of a smear campaign they tried to do.
Oh, to try and hoaxify it. That's a good word.
To say this is a team of people who are basically con men on the internet, and you shouldn't deal with these people. Because like this person doesn't have any legal authority. It's just a guy who owns a website.
The hoax hunter guy, you mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and looking at the hoax hunter website, you can see like he's got like adverts on it. So you'll be trying to make some kind of money off it. So
yeah, of course.
And there's YouTubers that do it, isn't there? Like in terms of like fake news and was it Keemstar? As an example, who always reports on things, even if it's probably not 100% true, and just goes off.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like after saying that, then yes, okay, there's a hoax hunter website that's trying to disprove it, but they haven't got any proof that it's a hoax, have they?
I mean, they've got quite a lot.
They've got like quite a lot of proof, yeah. But again, have they proven? I don't know where I'm going with that.
Our brains are melting.
I love how
I
thought you were going to say for a second that I deliberately didn't interrupt you because I thought you were going to say, yeah, well, have they proven their proof? I was just like, wait, what?
I tried not to say that, but yeah. Like, I haven't looked at the website, admittedly. I was hoping that you had as well, a bit more than me. There's a lot of information there, not just from John Titor.
And it's all about the individual people, whether they're real or made up.
Mm-hmm.
I think the main impression that I get from this whole thing is it sounds like it was an early internet experiment that was very sensationalist and jumped on the whole rumors that spread like wildfire, but in a new way because people were still experimenting with the new internet then. And I think it's a case of it's an idea that nobody can disprove at the time. Therefore, all of the arguments about, well, it's right basically because I'm saying it's right, because you can't say it's not right, therefore I'm right. And that's the method that they've used. And that might just be because they were a group of intelligent people who thought, okay, how's the best way for us to spread this theory? And then it's gone on for so long, and then I wonder if it's just run out of steam, or they've lost interest in it because their experiment was exactly what they wanted it to be. It created loads of attention. It drew in a captive audience by having chatter between people and then somebody acting as a PA to this person. It made it out as if it was even more high profile and that this person's becoming a celebrity and being idolized in these discussions. It makes you just think that they were just really driving off sensationalism and then just run out of steam with it and gone, okay, we're done, farewell, I'm off. And then just never posted on it again and then let people kind of ruminate on it and then picked up back on it again later once maybe it was starting to die away from everyone else's attention. I just can't see how I can see how it's true, but that doesn't mean I don't believe there might be part of it that makes sense. But a lot of that's because I don't understand the science behind it.
Yeah, that's my general impression as well, is that it's people wanted to make a cool folktale, and they did, because John Titor is quite very well known on the internet. Well, anyway, I think we've sufficiently lubed up our brains, and we've that's a lovely
My brain is lubed.
in order to slide down the rabbit hole of internet mystery.
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. I was wondering where you were going with that.
Pun.
Yeah, so go watch Steins Gate now.
Yeah,
I've got you in the mood for it.
I will do.
I mean, do I have to take any more pills?
Do I have to get looped up more? Oh, God.
Ramblings of a Madman is currently available on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. All the links are available on Twitter at Roam Podcast, that's ROAM Podcast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.